This will be information for your graphic arts report. And the first thing we'll have to talk about, of course, are colors. There are, on the color wheel, complementary colors, and there are also analogous colors, and there's monochrome. Of course, complementary colors are opposite on the color wheel, and analogous colors are really close to each other, three colors close to each other. And monochrome is just one color with grays and whites and blacks. We have three classic pieces of art here. The first one by Murillo is analogous colors. You see some oranges and some kind of reddish fleshy hues, and these are analogous colors because they're close on the color wheel. Picasso here in the middle in his blue series of cold colors has used monochrome color scheme, and Matisse has actually used a triad complementary colors, three colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, and they all give us different sort of moods. Now we're going to talk about different sorts of composition. Symmetrical composition is just what it says. The same thing on one side is mirrored on the other side. It's naive art, children's art, and colonial architecture to kind of give this stability. Asymmetrical composition is far more common in graphic arts and arts in general. It balances, but it doesn't balance with this mirroring. It balances because we have one large negative area balancing a smaller positive area. And it makes for much more interesting composition where the eye is led from place to place. Radial composition is not something you're going to see a lot of, but I thought I'd mention it here because it exists. We see radial composition when we have a central point with other elements radiating out of the central point, as in a flower. Two of my favorite artists, American artists Jasper Johns and Jackson Pollock, use crystal composition, and that's just sort of an even pattern that's all over the canvas. And you'd be surprised how much it is used in art and graphic arts, especially in modern pieces. Now we're going to have a short course in design theory, which will help you out in all of your compositions. The first element of design we're going to talk about is proximity, and that's joining together common elements. We can be talking about either pictures or we can be talking about writing. It doesn't matter. It should follow some sort of logical category scheme. If you're talking about images, put all of your images are similar together. Here we have paragraphs that make it a lot more understandable. Alignment is very important. Make sure that everything on your piece is aligned, or if it isn't aligned, there's a reason for it not being aligned. We're not talking about left alignment, center or right alignment. We're talking more about these invisible lines that you can see that connects one thing with the other, one image, one paragraph, one title with another. Repetition is also important, repeating a common theme. Here I've just used little bullets, but remember that you want to build this sort of rhythm, and that makes it a lot more interesting. The last thing we're going to talk about is contrast. I think contrast is the most important. You want to not have everything the same. Use extra large letters to see what it looks like. Use different fonts, but don't go too overboard with the different fonts. Use different background images. Just contrast different parts with in your piece. Here as a review, I put two pieces together for you about our report. The top one's lacking all of the different elements that we've talked about. The bottom one has everything that we've talked about. See if you can figure out how we've used the different elements of graphic design and composition on the second piece. Now we're going to talk about graphic arts. And first thing that you'll know about graphic arts that kind of put it apart from other arts is simplicity. You want your function dictates your form. You want to use real minimal color scheme. Everything should have a reason to exist. Please read our article about graphic artists. This whole less is more thing actually started in the 1930s with the Bauhaus school in Germany, and it kind of comes out of that image of architecture in the old days where everything was just cluttered with all design elements. It really had nothing to do with the function. The actual field of graphic arts and design is really quite large. You've got layout people, print people, designers, presenters, people that specialize in fonts, illustrators. So there are just a lot of things that go on in a typical design. As you're reading the article, we have to be aware of brand consistency. That means we're using the same color schemes, we're using the same fonts. Everything kind of ties together throughout the brand. Something else you may remember from the book is that you have to be aware of your audience. Who are you going for? On the one piece on the left, it's for a bank. You want to show stability, family values, uh, natural kind of colors. On the right, you're going for younger women. It's prettier, it's smoother, it's an illustration. And speaking of illustration, there's a big call for illustrators out there. It always is nice to have an illustrator on in your ad agency who really knows what he or she is doing, because people are drawn to illustration. We're so overpowered by so many photos these days. I've put the fonts into several styles here. We have the old style regular font. We've got the modern style, and these are both serif font. Those have the little knobs on the end. And then we have the sans serif, which is a more modern looking font. Your serif fonts tend to be more in print. Your sans serif fonts tend to be more on the internet, but beware, because you're sort of making a statement too. If you have a magazine, for example, and it has a sans serif font, you're saying, well, we're a modern magazine, right? So these have reasons, and you have your fun fonts. Don't overdo your fun fonts, of course. And then we have the best known Comic Sans. That's a little bit overdone. Try to avoid it. I've just added a couple here so you can see Nokia's kind of modern computer looking font. And it's interesting that Google would use a serif font. Even though they're a newer company, they probably want to show stability for people, to show that they know what they're talking about, like a dictionary or something. Now I've included some sample designs so you can look at them and see what you think. Oh, this is a horrible one. I like the motorcycle one because of, look, check out the alignment too on the left hand side of this one. We know who our audience is. Really nice font with this one, an illustration. I just think this is a nice piece, the way they've done the scuba diver. Some repetition here with the Nike menu. By the way, try to see the Nike site sometime. And I thought this was really interesting. Almost looks like a Russian sign from the old Soviet Union or something. But the font use and the color use, I really like. Here's just your old standard. Fonts recognizable. Colors. Here's more modern piece. That's it.